The incredibly corrupt Merrick Garland is replaced by Pam Bondi. Yes, she passed muster. You have a new head of the DOJ. She's already announced that she is going to fine and defund sanctuary cities. She's on that. We're going to hear from Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Caroline Leavitt.
My Democrat colleagues are reacting with manufactured outrage over Elon Musk and the DOGE team going in and cleaning up the federal government. They're saying the American people did not vote for this, but I would like to correct that record. On July 13th, when President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, Elon Musk got behind President Trump and he endorsed him. And then on August 19th of 2024, this is before the election, Elon Musk posted on his own account, "I am willing to serve," and that right there says DOGE. This was not something that was created after the election. It is no surprise to the American people. As a matter of fact, the Department of Government Efficiency was a key part of President Trump's campaign, and President Trump campaigned over and over again on DOGE and Elon Musk helping him. As a matter of fact, right here on Rolling Stones, which is very far left, by the way, Trump says he would give Elon Musk a top role in his administration. Again, this was on August 20th, 2024.
That's back when everyone thought it would be cool and cute. The Democrats thought, oh, Elon Musk, he's not going to do anything. We predicted, this was over a year ago, we predicted, he is the single biggest tectonic shift in politics in this entire, all the other channels were going after election integrity and all that stuff. Trivial compared to what Elon Musk has done. And now the Democrats realize it. By the way, Trump did indeed campaign on Elon Musk being part of his cleanup crew. Here he is back before he was elected.
So that there's a lot of fat in government that you would want to slim down.
Incredible fat.
So what agencies would you want to shut down?
Well, let me have you ask another person that, because I'm going to have Elon Musk. He is dying to do this. You know, he's a great business guy, actually. You think of him for science and rockets, and every time I think he's telling me about a new screw that was developed, he's developed a new screw. Screws are difficult, and it's made out of titanium, and it's so exciting. But you know what? He's a great business guy, and he's a great cost cutter. You've seen that.
Well before the election, this was no surprise to the American people. The American people love DOGE so much. They love the concept of saving the federal government, saving Americans and putting America first, cutting the waste and the spending, cutting down the size of the federal government. They love it so much, they voted for President Trump and elected him with an overwhelming victory. He won the popular vote, 312 electoral college votes. It's the Democrats that are the ones that are still lost on their message, and their message is a failure, and the American people spoke out about it. As the national debt approaches $36.5 trillion, our children and our grandchildren's futures are being sacrificed at the altar of wasteful government spending and corruption. With my new subcommittee on DOGE this Congress, we are going to dig deep on the wasteful spending and corrupt bureaucracies that have plagued our nation for far too long. We will make recommendations to address these problems, and we will make sure the American people know exactly what is being done with their hard-earned tax dollars. After all, this is what they voted for.
I love that Marjorie Taylor Greene's message here. She's saying there's something new in town. This DOGE thing, this government oversight, there's change, massive change coming in the air. What's the party that always claimed to be for change? Remember Obama, hope and change? They wanted change. You know what liberalism is? Liberal, to liberate from the things that came before. And progressives, progress. We progress. We are progress. We're evolution. We're evolving. The left, that was always their words. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene and DOGE come in to make reforming changes of dead policy, terrible ideas. And suddenly it's the progressives that are against progress, change, anything. They're like, we've never done this before, because they were always regressive. Here's Carolyn Levitt.
Peter. Thank you, Caroline. Are any officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So
and thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about DOGE. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
I'll tell you one thing, what now? What happened to the peaceful transfer of power, Democrats? Remember that on Inauguration Day? And now observe as we show you the peaceful transfer of power. I always knew they were relying on that one. Democrats don't want a peaceful transfer of power. They want a bloody revolt. And you're seeing them try and kickstart it out in the streets right now in Washington.
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
Democrats are just trying to protect their money in U.S. aid, billions of dollars that fund all their weirdo, deviant programs, not just here, but in other countries. They're going psycho in the streets. All they can do is throw a tantrum, guys. Nothing to see here. Here's Nancy Mace calling out their weirdo psycho programs.
From discriminatory DEI initiatives to extreme gender ideology to marginalize real bona fide biological women. For decades, while homeless veterans sleep on our streets, our communities rebuild from natural disasters, and American families struggle to get by, USAID has pillaged and plundered the American treasury, essentially lighting American taxpayer dollars on fire, funding some of the dumbest, stupidest, just dumbest initiatives imaginable, all supported by the left, and that's why their party is crumbling. Today, I'm going to expose some of the initiatives USAID has funded over the years and ask each of you a yes or no question. If you believe these expenditures of American taxpayer dollars put America first.
That's Nancy Mace hammering the Democrats as they have been systematically destroying our democracy. And then, of course, they project that onto Trump. So they're calling people to come out in the streets, go to Washington, D.C., just like Trump said, walk over to the Capitol and peacefully, patriotically protest. And they kept removing that word peacefully from Trump's quotes, even though he said it. The Democrats are saying for people to go to Washington, D.C. and fight in the streets, not peacefully protest, not peacefully fight. They're saying fight in the streets. Elizabeth Warren, Jasmine Crockett, they were always lying when they said Trump had heated, poisonous, dangerous rhetoric. Caroline Leavitt already called out all the journalists in that room. All the journalists they were all saying Trump violent, Trump mean, hateful rhetoric. He's inciting violence. What are they doing now? Why does it not apply to them now? Because it was always a lie. It's a lie now that they're claiming to be peaceful. And it was a lie then when they were claiming that Trump used violent rhetoric.
We all now know USAID. They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. They scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And there's no going back. So I would tell my colleagues across the other side of the aisle, take your salty tears and sit right back down. USAID has long strayed from its mission to effectively and efficiently administer aid to advance American interests.
And now they're saying, like, hey, if you shut down USAID, I just heard a guy on Morning Joe today say, you're going to kill babies. That's their new thing, because Democrats care about babies. Now, here's Sage Steele. You know, they open up the press room now to online influencers, and she's one of the people they brought in, and she's we like her as a great talent.
Obviously, the House already passed the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which was a really big step for women and girls. So far, the Senate, as we know, has not brought it up to vote. We all know executive orders can be overturned, so I'm wondering how important it is to the president to get Congress to bring this, to pass legislation, so there are no instances like the past administration that really tried to destroy Title IX.
Now, this is an important question. I know the sound was kind of bad on that. Her sound was a little bit low. What she's asking is are they going to pass laws? Is the president going to call for a law to be passed? Because right now, he's banning biological men from playing in biological women's sports. That's a big issue. And she's going, but like the last administration, it can be reversed. And it's going to be an important campaign policy. Can we enshrine it into law? That goes for everything that DOGE is doing. All of these things, if they're not passed into law, they're just going to be a presidential order.
It's incredibly important that Congress immediately acts on this priority. I think the president is really setting the tone, making this a very immediate priority for this administration, just as he promised to do on the campaign trail. And I'd like to get into the executive order a little bit, because it is the news of the day here at the White House, and talk about what this executive action will actually do. So the executive order that the president will be signing later this afternoon, as I said, upholds the promise of Title IX. It also will require the DOJ to abide by the nationwide previous administration's illegal Title IX rewrite that would have dissolved single-sex spaces and opportunities. It also requires immediate action, including enforcement actions against schools and athletic associations comprised of schools that deny women single-sex sports in single-sex locker rooms. The executive order also calls for the convening of private sporting bodies in the White House. We want them to come to this campus so the president can hear in person the stories of female athletes who have suffered lifelong injuries, who have been silenced and forced to shower with men and compete with men.
They're going to get their stories put on blast. The stories of women that you were not allowed to hear because all of media was Democrat. When you have Democrat media and they're anti-women, no one more anti-women than Democrats. That's why they project and claim to be so pro-women, women's health care, women's mental health. We're the party of women. We can't believe women are all voting for Trump when they're voting against their own interests. No one is more pro-women than to say, we don't want you to be exposed to having to shower in front of men and face that abuse. Trump is using an executive order, and then he's going to bring them into the White House and tell their stories over the last 4 years under the Biden administration. They're going to show you what kind of damage and harm has come to women in the name of the LGBTQ redefinition of man and woman.
On athletic fields across the country. Many of those women will be at the White House today. I encourage all of you in the media to actually talk to them, to hear their stories. And I would also just add one more thing. This is a wildly popular position with the American people. In fact, there was a new poll recently that showed the overwhelming majority of Democrats also support keeping biological men out of women's sports.
She's telling the press, I hope you'll talk to some of them. They won't do it. Democrats won't do it. They'll do hit job setups, hit job. They're here to lie to you, the Democrat media. They're still on a losing battle, and she's even warning them. By the way, this is incredibly popular to voters. She's trying to save the Democrat Party. This is a good one for you guys to go in and champion. It's so popular. They still won't listen. Democrats are on a suicide mission. It is a liberalism, and Democrat values are a religion to them. To them, it's blasphemy to go against that agenda. To say that men can't have a baby goes against their established religion, and they wanted our government to establish that pagan religion.
And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOGE team is working on canceling those payments now.
$8 million went to the rag, the Politico. We've done tons of shows using Politico articles because I like getting my news from the enemy camp. I didn't realize it was the Democrats in government were funding this rag because they could not make it on normal profits. The way that like Daily Wire or Breitbart News or Fox News has to exist and survive. Politico was running like a charity. They were getting free patronage to the tune of $8 million. I've got a graphic here. Oh man, I can't even see it. Here it is. This is just the Department of DOGE exposed this, and you would not have seen this without Elon Musk. $8 million. And remember, Politico is the one who came out with the lie about when Joe Biden had the debate with Trump and said over 50 members of the intelligence community said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. That story was pushed in Politico, and when the journalists came to Politico and said, no, we found facts against it, they buried the story, they would not run it. So Politico is a fully operational, communist-like propaganda media, propaganda lying machine. Here's the other article, Politico, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation, dozens of former intel officials say. That's the headline Politico ran with, funded by the government under the Biden administration. This is as corrupt and evil as journalism gets, lying to you and making a ton of money lying to you by a lying government.
Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
And that's why the Democrats are throwing a massive corrupt tantrum. Now we have Pam Bondi being sworn in as the new Attorney General for the Department of Justice. She takes the place of evil, corrupt, lying Merrick Garland. Here she is being sworn in by the great Clarence Thomas.
Do solemnly swear
I, Pamela Bondi, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter.
discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
These are good times. I'm Doug in exile.